Bako. He's a sports editor at thedailynational.com. Mike, let's talk a little bit about it. I mean, we're less than 2 months away. Things are going to be different, though, for these athletes in the Olympic Village. The experience is likely to be quite different because of COVID. How do you see this impacting these athletes?
Well, that's the interesting thing, that this Olympic Village is meant to keep them all safe, but it will fundamentally change what we think of as the Olympic experience for these athletes. They won't be able to commingle with other athletes from other countries. They really will have a very limited practice schedule as well. So taking vehicles to and from the events, only being able to go to those events, only being able to go to practice on a very limited basis. So this is one of the things that, as we have 2 months or so to go before the start of these games, the athletes need to take that into consideration as they plan their training to make sure that they are at peak condition for when they get there, because they're not going to really be able to have too much of an opportunity to fine-tune once they actually get there.
Competition, of course, is what brings these athletes there, but they also want to soak up the experience. I've talked to Olympic athletes, and they always talk about, you know, getting immersed in the culture and all just kind of the interchange with other athletes and kind of learning more about the host country. A lot of that's gone this time around, right?
Absolutely gone. So you're thinking about an Olympic Village that currently will have 20 different buildings housing somewhere upwards of 2,300 beds with all of those athletes. And in years past, they would go back and forth between buildings. In games past, one of the big traditions was to trade pins back and forth, the Olympic pins. That's all gone. You need to be a vaccinated athlete to attend. If you're not, you're going into 21-day complete quarantine isolation. So that's something that, as a top-tier athlete, being in 21-day quarantine before you're supposed to compete at the peak of your athletic abilities, probably not something that you want to do or experience. Daily PCR tests, all of these things take away from the Olympic experience. But obviously, as you're seeing, not only in the test events that went on just a few weeks ago where a couple of athletes tested positive, you're now seeing this cascading effect here in the States. NBA games being canceled, NFL players having to go into quarantine, NBA imposing rules for booster shots for all supporting personnel when it comes to coaches and personnel with NBA players. So this is something that, yes, we're 2 months away. Could it be better in 2 months? Possibly. Could it be worse? Probable.
Yeah, and the one word you threw out there that I think about is isolation. And we know that athletics is physical, but it's also mental. Do you think this is going to have an impact on their, you know, their mental capacity? I mean, that's kind of difficult dealing with this isolation.
Absolutely, it's difficult. You look back to the summer games just this past few months ago with what was going on with Simone Biles. Like there's already enough pressure on these athletes. This is their one moment once every 4 years. Olympic athletes, very, very few of them go on to reap fame and fortune after this. So they're really doing it for the glory, and this is oftentimes their only moment. So the pressure by itself is going to be extremely high, let alone under these circumstances, let alone living within this closed loop system that they're putting on just to make sure that the games go off. So I would imagine that some of the top tier athletes, this will become an issue for them. It's only natural for them to face this. So I do think that this is going to be a variable when it comes to the games and predicting who's going to medal, who'll be on the top of that podium. I think some of those predictions will be upended.
Michael, I'm going to let you go, but not before saying I really like your decorations. They look quite festive. Thank you.
All right. Well, kudos to my wife for that. So happy holidays to you and everyone else.
Well, congratulations to her.